So that's the confusing thing about animation and art in general is there's all of these rules. You have to learn the rules of anatomy. You have to learn the rules of animation, the principles of animation, all of these different things. And they all serve as a basis, but exactly like Vishen said, you learn them so that you can break them. Because art is art. It is not physical reality. We can break the rules at any time. The problem is that if you just break the rules randomly, you get random motion that we can't track and that we can't understand. But if you learn the rules and then learn when to break the rules to achieve certain reactions or effects or a different feeling in your shot, suddenly you can make shots much more dynamic and much more specific to what you want the audience to feel. So a good example of that is the 180-degree rule in animation or just cinematography in general. So in cinematography, you learn that if you have two characters, so you have a character here kind of looking forward, we're looking at the top view right now, and another character here looking that way. If they're having a conversation, let's add the shoulders here, just so we have that. If they're having a conversation, there is this invisible line that crosses both characters right here that we do not want to cross. So if you have your camera right here, looking at the scene, this is okay. If you move the next camera over here, looking at the scene, this is okay. If you have your camera over here, looking at the scene, this is all okay. So this is a 180-degree rule. Let me write it out. If you put your camera here, suddenly that's not okay because you've broken that rule. Essentially, what this is going to do is if we think of what the actual camera will look like, so this is camera 1, 2, 3, and actually let's put camera 2 right here. Camera 2. And we're going to also make this character green. Okay, so from camera 1, this is going to be 1, 2, 3. If we draw out what this would look like, we would have the green character over here. And then the red character, we might see like a little bit of them over here. So you have green on screen right, red on screen left. From camera 2, we would have the one character over here. And then the other character over here. Screen left, screen right, it stays the same. Now, camera 3, now we have character in red right here, and then green is right over the shoulder, so we'd get something like this. So all of this, we keep that relationship, screen left, screen right. If you put a camera over here, so this would be camera 4. Let's do that down here. Camera 4. What's going to happen is it's going to flip the order of things. So now the red character is going to be over here. And the green character is going to be over there. So see how suddenly that flips? And this creates confusion where we're going from one side to the other and we can't keep track of the characters. And if you do it often, it's very confusing. So you learn in cinematography, do not break the 180-degree rule. It's very important. Once you know that rule and you know why the reason we try not to break it, we can break it all we want if we want to add confusion. So there are a lot of, yeah, exactly. So a movie with Michael Douglas, the camera breaks the rule to show that he's the other side, the bad guy. Exactly. So there's going to be moments like you'll see this in horror movies where they break that rule quite often, especially when a character is supposed to be panicked and scared, because it makes it so that as an audience, we don't know which way things are going. where things are happening. It just throws us for a loop and we get confused. A good example of that is Hot Fuzz. If you've ever seen Hot Fuzz, great movie, by the way, beautiful cinematography. There's a scene where the character has to move from one town to the next. So he leaves the city that he's in, he goes into a taxi, he takes a train, he goes into another taxi, and he goes through all of this stuff. General rule of cinematography is if a character is going in a direction, you keep them going in one direction. So, for example, if you look at Shrek, since we were talking about Shrek earlier, there's a scene where Shrek and Donkey begin their adventure from, why can't I just had the name, Farquaad City. I've got the song stuck in my head. What? I've got Far, Far Away stuck in my head. Okay, that's going to bother me. Anyway, they're leaving Farquaad City. Name didn't come to me. And going to rescue the princess. And as they're doing that, Duloc. There you go. Thank you, PJ. That was going to bother me. Duloc. Such a perfect town. So they're going from Duloc to the princess. And the way they do that is they go from screen left to screen right. All of their motion follows that trajectory. When they rescue the princess and head back to Duloc, if you watch the cinematography, for the most part, they are going from screen right to screen left. For the most part. Not all the time, but in general. So it creates this connection in our head of, okay, there's this directionality. If they're going to one place, it's this direction. If they're going back, it's the other direction. Cool. We try not to break that rule. Now, going back to Hot Fuzz, you've got the character moving from one city to the next, but that move is not something that he wants. It is not something that he is actively participating in. He's being shipped out to another town without his say-so. And it's chaotic. He's being put into a whole different world. He's a city guy. He's worked in the big city. He's going out into the country, a tiny little town. And the way they show that kind of confusion and that feeling of loss and being thrown out into the unknown is that they keep cutting from the train, or let's say the taxi. It goes from screen left to screen right. And then it cuts, and now it's going screen right to screen left. And then it cuts again, and it might be going a different way. And then it's going forward. And then it goes in a different direction, a different direction, a different direction, until he's finally at his town. And that is technically breaking the rule, but it's serving a purpose. It's creating the feeling of confusion in there and the feeling of being lost. So same thing with any animation rule that you learn in animation. These are not hard rules that you have to follow. And if you break them, your animation is bad. You're learning them because that is what we as humans tend to perceive. This is how our eyes tend to work, what we tend to read in a situation. But if we want to push that and exaggerate, there's nothing wrong with breaking the rule. But it has to be done with a purpose, not out of just, why? I don't know, because you have to have a good reason for it. So I hope that makes sense. I know that was a really long tangent, but it's a very important thing that, especially when you're starting out, you're going to have that thought of like, why do we have to learn all these rules if we're just going to break them and they don't matter in the end anyway? They do matter because you have to break them for a reason. And if you don't understand them, you're just going to get a lot of visual noise. It's just going to be things moving on screen, and that's not super appealing. If you're just random motion, not interesting. So yeah. You can break the rules as long as you have a reason. Yes, exactly. Also, in animation, you can cheat as long as you don't get caught. Now, this doesn't mean copying someone else's animation, that kind of cheating. That's just being a bad person. Cheating is like you're going to scale the hand to twice the size to exaggerate the perspective, even though it makes no sense. If no one notices, that's fine. Cheating is the character is walking across the screen and suddenly in a part where no one notices, they skip forward like twice as far as they should have. But if no one notices and they get across the screen in the amount of time you have, that's fine. If they're walking and you just have like a headshot like this, where you don't see the feet and they're walking across and you don't even animate the feet are just kind of sliding around, no one's going to notice, totally fine. So we can cheat, we can save time, we can do these types of things to make our life a lot easier or to achieve the effect that we want. And as long as the audience doesn't catch on to it, you're good. The moment that the audience goes, wait, those feet aren't moving right, or something feels weird here, we haven't achieved what we wanted, we were caught, it's bad. So we would want to animate the correct way or push the cheat even more so that it's imperceptible. So yeah, animation is a weird career in that sense, where a lot of time you think about it like this: animation, art, it's a magic trick. We are trying to make the audience believe something that isn't actually real. Puss in Boots isn't a real character. Unfortunately, he's adorable, but he's not real. Cats can't stand up in boots like that. They can't hold a sword and do flips and fight a wolf in a cape and all of that cool stuff. But we have to make it so that it feels like that could be possible, that the audience looks at it and goes, yeah, I believe it. I believe that this is a real living, breathing character. It's a magic trick. Just like how a lot of magic tricks, it's not real magic, it's sleight of hand. The card doesn't disappear, it's just hidden in a sleeve somewhere. But when we look at it, we don't go, oh, it's in his sleeve. We go, where'd it go? Because the deception was so good, the cheat was so good, that we just automatically accept it must be magic, versus going, no, it's in his sleeve. It's gotta be. And even if you go, oh no, it's in his sleeve, you go, wait, but how? How did he do that? I don't get it. If the audience looks at the characters, you want them to go either, they're alive, or how do they feel so alive when they're a cartoon? Like, I don't get it. Where's the magic? The moment that they go, oh yeah, it's a cartoon, they're not actually alive, we haven't gotten that yet, the magic in there. I picked this group because it's as weird as me. I'm with you there. Animation, there's a lot of weird people in animation, and I think that just makes it even better. It's so much more fun.